I would like to shout out Adrian Thomas and Kevin Smith for both sending me this story. And we are about to go back to one of the most corrupt departments in the establishment, known as the New York Police Department. And we're pretty much going to touch on a subject that has been touched on and tackled for ages, especially with the NYPD and considering how they like to get down. So, this article is coming from the New York Daily News, and it says ex cop details NYPD collar quotas, arrest black and Hispanic men, no cuffs on soft targets of Jews, Asians, whites, according to court documents. That's just the title, but I am interested in knowing what a collar quota is. You know, they always love to say that there are no quotas, but we know different, especially when the whole stop and frisk thing happened in New York, thanks to Michael Bloomberg and Rudy Giuliani, aka the Gargoyle. It says the rules of collars for dollars at NYPD Transit District 34 were clear. Cops who arrested black men were rewarded with more overtime. A now retired officer named Pierre Maximilian writes in an explosive declaration filed Monday in a discrimination lawsuit brought by Sergeant Edwin Raymond and 3 other cops. I think they did a documentary on Netflix about something like this. I'm not sure, but I think they did. The declaration is one of the latest developments in a long-running case brought by black and Hispanic cops who charge they were forced to arrest more blacks and Hispanics than other groups. They were treated harshly and denied promotions if they refused. Asian, Jewish, and white people, and it's amazing they throw Jewish into a separate category as if they aren't palm colored themselves, but whatever, known as soft targets, were not to be slapped in cuffs. This could actually be said amongst all departments when you think about it. All cops in that district were to fill a collar quota, but black and Hispanic officers who didn't meet expectations were treated more harshly by then commanding officer Constantine Sachas, Maximilian wrote. So basically, if the black and Hispanic cops did not meet a quota for arresting black and Hispanic people, probably mainly the men, for whatever reason, they got some kind of punishment. But if the Asians and the palm coloreds, I'm not separating those two, didn't meet the quota, they still were treated fairly. We were taught by Sachas, closest lieutenants, that we could not give summons to what they called as soft targets, Maximilian writes in his declaration. The soft targets they were referring to were white, Asian, and, palm colored. Instead, it was emphasized that we needed to stop male blacks. Those were the ones Sachas wanted to go to jail. Maximilian, age 49, retired in 2015, saying he could no longer endure Sachas' racist retaliation. He writes that when he refused to follow those orders, he was reprimanded, his overtime was stopped, and he was assigned only to transporting prisoners. He writes that he tried to raise warning bells about the quota system with top NYPD chiefs, the Department of Investigation, and the police unions, but no one acted. The utter disregard for civilians of color and their ability to treat them like animals made me second guess who I was actually serving in the NYPD. Sachas created this racial divide within the department. He rewarded the white officers and punished the minority officers. Black and Hispanic cops in general were punished more severely for failing to meet quotas. The supervisors would place the minority officers in punishment posts by ourselves, deny vacation or leave, deny us overtime, change our shifts, give us bogus command disciplines, yell at us in roll call, and give us poor evaluations. On the other hand, according to Maximilian's declaration, when white officers didn't meet the collar quota, they were treated with kid gloves. They would get a pass from command. they would write it off as a bad month and place them in areas with partners who were extremely aggressive so they could make the arrest quota. Sanchez is still on the job and was even promoted to deputy inspector in 2016. The NYPD declined to comment on pending litigation. The city's law department said Maximilian's allegations had no merit. The information presented by plaintiffs changes nothing. The NYPD investigated the allegations in Officer Maximilian's declaration and found them to be meritless. The judge ruled that the city's production of email evidence was sufficient, despite what plaintiffs now claim. We'll continue to defend against these baseless allegations, said Law Department spokesman Nicholas Palucci. Raymond's lawyer, John Scola, said the NYPD has been aware of the accusations about Sanchez for nearly a decade. If they had acted appropriately, they wouldn't have retaliated against my clients with racially motivated punishments. We hope the NYPD take corrective action. This is the NYPD we're talking about. They are one of the most corrupt police departments to ever be in existence. If they do any kind of investigation, they're going to self-investigate, and we know how that usually turns out. The existence of quotas has been long denied by the NYPD. However, Maximilian noted that the NYPD refers to quotas by a series of code names, including productivity, indicators, goals, activity, expectations, conditions, and performance goals. The NYPD has a lot of internal names for the arrest quota, but they all mean the same thing. That was a very interesting article, a very interesting story that was told, but that also gave us another glimpse. We only knew that they had arrest quotas for, the amount of black people that they had to arrest per month. But what we didn't know was that the black and Hispanic cops in the departments were punished harsher if they didn't meet those quotas, opposed to what they deemed as soft targets, which were palm-colored cops and Asians. I'm not going to throw and say Jewish in there because they are palm-colored as well. They just, their issue. They like to just, they cling on to not claiming to be Caucasian. But we know different. But that was an interesting take because I didn't know that was going on inside the departments. So that shows you the racism that goes on in that particular department. And of course, they said that the black and Hispanic cops, if they didn't meet the quotas, they wouldn't get certain things, like they would deny them leave, deny them vacation time, they denied them overtime, they denied them getting promotions. Meanwhile, the person that had all of this in place going on had vast complaints for a decade, and in 2016, 3 years ago, he, instead of getting investigated, he got promoted. That goes back to that saying when we say they don't get fired, they don't get transferred, they just get promoted. Well, they get transferred. He didn't get fired. He just got promoted. Nor did he get transferred. He just got a promotion. And they said to this day, he's still at that department. And the thing is, they never asked this guy, as if he would tell the truth, why he has an issue with black men. We are always have been the main target for everyone's BS forever. There are a few reasons I could think of as to why maybe they see us as stiff competition that they know that they can't win. But one of the major ones, of course, is genetic annihilation. I don't have to go into a whole diatribe about that. That shit right there scares the crap out of them. If nothing else, that right there definitely does. Even though many won't actually admit to it, but do they really admit to anything? But I would like for y'all to tell me what y'all think about this down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, and I will talk to you in the next one.